if I went hard at this, I bet I could make $100,000. And she was like, you can't quit your job to be a bounce house guy. It's not a career. It's not a real business. Take them all out everywhere. Going to Mississippi. I got stuff going to Baton Rouge. It was one of the most special moments of my entire life. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, I'm an entrepreneur. Like I did it.
Hi everybody, this is Bridget with Jump Orange Inflatables, and today I'm going to be talking with Nick Glassett from The Jump Off. We're going to be talking about how you can turn your side hustle into a legitimate business venture. This is just part one of a multi-part series, so make sure you subscribe below. That way you can get the latest Jump Orange YouTube videos. So how many inflatables do you own now?
So just under 60. I think we have 58.
Okay, yeah. And, you know, something I wanted to talk to you about is something that we talked about before, turning a side hustle into a legit business venture, turning, you know, what you start with into what you've got now. You know, that's a lot of inflatables. And I know you've got a warehouse. I saw the other day you were taking out like 3 trucks on a Saturday morning full. So how did you start out? And how long have you been doing this?
So we started off, like I said, with 2 inflatables. That was back in 2019. So it was like June-ish, July-ish, something. It's probably June. And my phone rings. It's my wife, Michelle. I was working for the time for Journey Shoes. So I was a district manager. I oversaw 25 stores across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. I was in Biloxi, Mississippi. Like I remember where I was. I was in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was in the back room. I don't remember what I was doing, like, you know, but whatever. I answer the phone and she's like, hey, I think I want to go buy a bounce house. And I was like, a what? And she's like, a bounce house. Like I found one used. Spacewalk is headquartered about 45 minutes south of us.
Okay.
And so I guess she found one on Marketplace that was from Spacewalk, certified used where. And she's like, I want to go buy it. I'm just tired of paying the rental guy. And so I know you want to quit Journeys really bad, which was like an understatement beyond belief, right? I just was ready to go be an entrepreneur. It wasn't necessarily Journeys. It was just like all the rules and just was ready to go be an entrepreneur, right? So she's like, I know you want to start a business. So maybe you could start renting it out on the side and start learning a little bit of entrepreneur life. And I'm like, done, go. Like, how much is it? And she said it was like $400 or $500, like something stupid, like cheap, right? And so I'm like, oh, go. So then later she calls me and she's like, hey, I'm here. And they said like, it's so hot in Louisiana that if you want to rent them out, like I need a water one too. So they're going to throw me in this little slip and slide. And so they basically upsell her on the slip, but she drives a hard ass bargain. So she got 2 inflatables with blower and anchors for like $750, I think.
Wow.
And they're used, but like, I mean, they're in pretty decent condition. And so, yeah, that's summer, right? And so I get home from work and they're like stuffed in the back of her Armada and we have to like get them out. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like I thought they were so big and so heavy. Now, like we still have the orange dinosaur, which is one of the ones. And it's like the stupidest, easiest thing ever to roll. It's so funny. But yeah, so anyways, that was, like call it June 2019. So about 4 years ago.
And were you working Journeys and then doing this on like the weekends or something?
Yeah. So basically, I kind of started to dream up the whole company. Like it was like, I've wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was like a teenager. I was just too lazy when I was a teenager to make it happen. And then I got hired at Journeys about a week or 2 after I graduated high school. And I was going to the University of Utah. And so it was like, whatever, I'm going to do this little job. And then as I kind of started to like it and rose through the ranks, they promoted me to be a store manager when I was only 19. And back then at that company, like you kind of were an entrepreneur. We did whatever we wanted. Like we hired whoever we wanted. You know, we just had to just like show up on time and like sell enough shoes to make last year's sales and we were good to go. And so I learned all this business stuff over 16 years to when we got the bounce houses. It was like, I already had in my head what I needed to do, right? So I literally made this logo on Canva myself in 2019, named the company, right? I dream up all this stuff and I started a Facebook page and blah, 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 right? And then I kind of went hard on Marketplace and that's where we got literally like all of our rentals for the first forever. And so once it got like this much traction, I was kind of like, dude, if I went hard at this, you know, I remember telling Michelle, if I went hard at this, I bet I could make $100,000. And so, and she was like, it's not that, like, you can't quit your job to be a bounce house guy. That's not, it's not a career. It's not a real business. It's just a side hustle. And so she kind of like talked me off the ledge. And then I was like, I really think this bounce house thing could like go. Like I really did. And so we only had two, like, right. And so the little dinosaur would, no, sorry, the little slip and slide would rent. And then once it got to about nowish, the little bounce house would rent. Like you never rented two at the same time because one was dry, one was wet. So yeah, we were just doing it on the weekends. And then it got to September. I actually randomly, it's totally random, but my last day at Journeys was the same as my first day at Journeys. It was not planned. But I quit September 10th, 2019 was my last day. And we still only had 2 units.
Wow. So you were like, let's go. And
yeah.
then from what I've like seen, because you know, I like watching your channel. You put out just so much great content. What I've seen is that when 2020 hit, when the whole pandemic happened, things closed down, you just buckled down and took that opportunity to really grow it and really focus on it and kind of fill a void where a lot of people were jumping out of the industry at that time.
Yeah, I think there's one on the YouTube channel. I know there's one on my podcast. If you go like to the second podcast or third podcast I ever recorded, but I think it's on YouTube as well, way down at the bottom. It's called like something to do with serendipity, right? Is the name. And like, it's just me talking to a camera or me talking to a microphone. But basically we bought a third unit that was way better. We bought it again from Spacewalk, but it was like the same price as the other 2 combined. Right. And we thought this thing was massive. And like, again, like jokes, because it's not, but at the time it was huge. So that was like October because it was working well. Right. So Michelle's like, hey, let's go buy another one. And then we get to November, and to make ends meet, I was actually driving Uber and taking garbage off the side of the road that people were going to throw away and like polishing it up and selling it on Facebook Marketplace. So those are the 2 things I was doing. And so my buddy had given me some bikes, some old kids bikes, like little teeny 8-inch, 10-inch bikes. And so like I greased the chains, whatever, put them on Marketplace, and some dude came to buy them and saw that I had I must have had 3 units in the garage. I was like, you rent out Spacewalks? I rent out Spacewalks. How many do you have? I was like, I have 3. He's like, I have 28. I was like, oh my God. So he's talking. And so he tells me a place where he buys them from in bulk. He's like, I buy them from bulk, a company that's now out of business. COVID killed this business, but it was a place in Baton Rouge called Red Stick Entertainment. And I'm like, okay, I write all this stuff down, like Tony at Red Stick Entertainment, whatever. I go back inside. I mean, the door's not even closed behind me. And I'm calling this Red Stick Entertainment, trying to find this Tony guy, like the secretary or whatever, won't put me through to him. And I can't get through. But this is the serendipity. The next day, I already had scheduled a Christmas light consultation in the same city, 2 minutes away from their warehouse. Like, and this is a city that is not very big, and I don't go to very often. It's an hour and 25 minutes away. It's called Prairieville. It's over like just south of Baton Rouge. And so I'm like, I cannot get through to the secretary. Like I call her multiple times. I call the next day. I drive out actually with my mom, believe it or not, to go do this Christmas light consultation. And I'm just winging it. I'm like, I got graph paper and a freaking tape measure. And then I'm like, let's go around the corner. And I go like knock on the door. I'm like, hi, is Tony here? And Tony walks through the door, the nicest dude ever. Takes me, they have 2 full warehouses, like 250 units, rock climb walls, right? They're massive, at least over $1 million in revenue, if not more. Okay. And so then he says, I got a trailer back there in the back corner. It has 7 units in it. I want the trailer gone. I want the 7 units gone. Sell it to you for $2,000 cash. I'm like, and I can hitch that trailer up and drive it an hour and a half back to Madisonville.
That's a great deal. He
said, yeah, you're going to have to air up the tires. So to make kind of a long story a little bit shorter, like went back the next day with $2,000, aired up the tires, drove on home, and like we're pulling them out. Like it's November, right? So it gets dark early. We're pulling them out, and it's like a bounce house lottery. It's just coming out. We're like, oh my God, we got a castle one. But so at that point, so we had 3. It turned out there was actually 9 in there, not 7.
Wow.
So now we have 12 units, and it's, you know, we're about 3 months away from COVID. Obviously, we don't know this, okay? But now we have 12 units. So then when COVID does hit and everybody's locked down, me being, you know, I'm a kind of like a marketer at heart, but I'm also aggressive, like I'm assertive. And so my wife's salon had to close. And so I said, make a post that will rent out any of our inventory. We'll do a whole entire week rental for the cost of 1 day. So we'll do 7 days for the cost of 1. It goes viral, and I rent out the entire inventory, like practically on the drive home. Like I still get goosebumps when I talk about this story, because like
awesome.
the next, like I just remember the rentals, right? We have 2 a weekend. Like all of a sudden I've got to take them all out everywhere. Like I got stuff going to Mississippi. I got stuff going to Baton Rouge. I was all over the place. And it was like, there was one of the most special moments of my entire life. Cause I remember like I remember standing in the front yard, like loading a trailer, doing something. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, I'm an entrepreneur. Like I did it. Like it began, like, this is my moment, you know, and where, you know, and then it kind of scaled from there. Right. So we were doing like $2,000, $2,500 a week. And it kind of, you know, and then it just continued to scale from there. And I remember weeks later sitting down with Michelle and like being like, okay, so I was right, you were wrong. I'm going to be a bounce house guy. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, something that I love about like watching you and getting to know you through social media is just you're very energetic, you're very positive, you've got a great attitude about things. You can tell that you're a go-getter, that you are like an entrepreneur at heart. And it's really cool that you have that talent and you share it with people. Like you're not like, you know, hoarding the information, you're like spreading it out and sharing the wealth and helping other people kind of see like, wow, there's a lot that you can do. You don't have to be unhappy in your workplace. You can be really happy.
Right. And I do think I got to walk a little bit of a finer line. I think a lot of my content like almost like hates on employee life, and like by no means, it's like, it just is not it's just not for me. So it comes through, I almost think, kind of like with a negative bent. Maybe, and maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. But I just don't want it. Like, I just don't want people to read my posts or watch my content and be like, oh man, this guy just, you know, like, I like my job and this guy is telling me to quit. Like, it's like,
oh
no. Like, I just want people to be happy. And so like, I come from a place of like, my happy, right? That's what I'm kind of trying to put out into the world. But that whole, like, my whole entire content model, if you would call it that, like, it's very not that well thought through. So like, that's probably being too generous to myself there. But it's all been very intentional. Like when the business started to take off, I remember being like, I got to get somebody to, I have to film this. But like, I didn't know how to run a company, let alone point a camera at myself and document myself learning to run a company. You know what I mean? So if you go to my YouTube channel, go to the bottom, there's some pre-COVID videos that I made and put on YouTube that are awful. They're terrible. There's one where I'm folding up that orange dinosaur, and like I hid the people weren't even home. Like I hid the camera because I was like super self-conscious. You know what I mean? To where now, like I walk through the airport and I'm like, you know, talking to my phone or whatever. But when the business started to go, like the YouTube career, if you could call it, was top of mind. I just had no idea how to do it from a standpoint of, I didn't know what my voice would be for looking at a camera and talking and teaching. I didn't know how to edit videos. I didn't know how to film videos. I didn't have a camera, you know? So my best video ever to date still is like 53 minutes. It's so old. I drop everything off on Friday and pick everything up on Monday. But I basically just had my friend Brooke, who's actually co-founder of Ray's Bookings with me. But I had her just follow me along and film me dropping off everything and picking everything back up. And then she's very talented with a camera. She's very talented with editing. And so she put it all together. and it's just like this magical video that just won't stop getting views. It's crazy.
That's cool.
But as soon as that video went up, it was like, oh shit, I think we did it. And so then that's when I kind of went backwards and figured out how to run a YouTube channel. And as soon as I optimized that video, the right way for YouTube, it just went whoop, hockey stick. And then from there, it's like, that was where I was like, oh my God, this is like, business is my ultimate passion. Well, probably teaching and mentoring is my ultimate passion, with business being like super close to it. So if I get to do both of them at the same time, it's like, I don't even need to make money. Like, I'm so happy. And so that's awesome. Kind of like what the YouTube channel intention is almost selfish to scratch my own itch of being able to teach people how to run a successful business, how to scale this, what inventory to buy, how to wash a bounce house. It doesn't matter. And so, yeah, it's totally selfish, you know, so the selflessness of it comes from a selfish place.
It makes you feel good. You know,
right.
It's like your authentic self. That's nothing's better than that. And I mean, you were a manager at Journeys for so long too. So you were helping mentor and teach and lead. So you're just naturally doing that now in all your businesses and just for, you know, people in the industry.
Right.
Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe below so you can see our next video with Nick Glassett.